Thank you very much. Thank you, Francis, for the opportunity to speak to you today about CAN-AIMS, a new consortium that I have founded with Arnaud Dubois here in Canada. And so I wanted to first talk about the evolution of a name or evolution of an acronym. And so when the idea first came about for a consortium, really what we wanted to do was to combine proteomics and artificial intelligence. And so we started with Can Proteo AI as our initial concept for this consortium. We then wanted to, based on our members and our research expertise and what we wanted to accomplish, we moved into Canadian Artificial Intelligence and Mass Spectrometry Consortium, CAN-AIMS. And so that's what I present to you today. And then feedback from our members wanted more biology context. And I actually had a suggestion just today in one of the talks for the Canadian Artificial Intelligence and Mass Spectrometry for Systems Biology Consortium. So that's it. I'm not changing the name anymore. This is the acronym. This is the name. And so the reason why, and the reason I put this up here is because to really show the evolution of what we do as researchers and scientists and how we start with one idea and then we build from our community and our feedback and our reviewers and what we like, what we don't like, and how we want to represent ourselves to the community. And so for CAN-AIMS, the vision is to build an interdisciplinary, collaborative community of researchers from across Canada that is really complemented by international partners. And then we want to apply advanced multi-omics technologies with an emphasis on proteomics and metabolomics, and integrate that with ethical AI-driven strategies to tackle global challenges. And we aim to tackle global challenges in the context of looking at a One Health perspective. So the integration between animal health, human health, and the environment as well. And so our initial members for the consortium have a geographical distribution across Canada. And I'd like to highlight Arnaud's group at the University of Laval, as well as at University of Guelph, where we have a couple contributors, myself, but also Gus Skorberg, who is bringing in the Center for Advancing Responsible and Ethical Artificial Intelligence Research, and really bringing in that bioethical consideration. And then, of course, you'll recognize other names and faces from our conference here. Mathieu, Julie, Marie are all within the audience as well. And really a great group of researchers that we've brought together with diverse expertise. And I'll talk about that in a second. So aside from these founding members of the consortium, we've also established different partnerships. One of them being with our Canadian National Proteomics Network, the CNPN, as well as with Core Facilities or Scientific Platforms Network, the Canadian Network of Scientific Platforms, the Canadian Bioinformatics Workshop, bioinformatics.ca, that's right, and the Center for Advancing Responsible and Ethical Artificial Intelligence, CARE AI, which is based out of the University of Guelph, the Vector Institute. Thermo is one of our industry partners that has been very supportive in providing great feedback to us from an industry perspective. Bioinformatics graduate programs from myself as well as others, clinician collaborators, and then international partnerships. And so our expertise is quite diverse, and I was working on the word cloud today. We don't see much of these anymore. These were pretty exciting like 10 years ago, but they're fun to make, and you can have font and colors. So anyway, I got a bit distracted, but it's really the purpose of this is to highlight the diversity of what we do, and not only our emphasis on different areas. Mass spectrometry, for example, is a technology that many of us use in the consortium, but then we also bring in the bioinformatics, the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and really one of my favorite applications is the bioethics, because so much of what we do and our vision for how we can implement the data that we generate and what has been talked about a lot in this meeting as well is how does that impact the people that are providing the data? What are the considerations that we have for anonymizing the data? And what sort of stigmas could be associated if we release that data to the public? And then also the applications where we're applying this. So we have systems biology. We also apply within cancer research, infectious disease research, climatic resiliency. The point is to be diverse and to apply this in many different ways. For infrastructure, one of the benefits of the consortium is that we have different expertise, but we also have different access to instrumentation. So Core Facilities is in the center of this particular slide to highlight really the very highly qualified personnel that we have within our labs and within our institutions that we can kind of network between, I would say. Instrumentation is heavily focused on mass spectrometry and mass spectrometry instrumentation, with different platforms being represented across the different labs. And then computational platforms as well, and servers and cloud computing. You'll see I use AI to generate some of these images, because to put a picture of a computer up here is pretty boring. So it's a bit more exciting here. And then also, so the initial idea for the consortium started in about 2022, and we received funding from CIHR Planning and Dissemination Grant, as well as the CARE AI Institute, to really get this up and running. This previous March, we had our inaugural workshop for the consortium, and really that was to provide an overview and a purpose of CAM aims, to start building research and collaborations, really by just going around a table and talking about what are our interests, what do we do, what sort of instruments do we have, what are our needs as well, and how can we support each other. By considering equity, diversity, and inclusion principles in practice and starting to integrate those right at the very beginning. The scope that we want to encompass, our wish lists for the consortium, integration with bioethics, and then our pillars of research, training, and infrastructure, and how we integrate partners into these areas. And the purpose of the workshop was to bring together diverse expertise so that we can cover different areas, but also different research areas, but also different applications and translational aspects, to collaborate and develop assays between labs and across labs that we can use to promote and advance healthcare research in Canada and personalized medicine approaches. But then through conversations, we wanted to expand this as well. So we start by looking at a very human health centric perspective. And then we've moved on to more of a One Health, where we also consider agricultural applications, environmental applications as well. And then finally, we want to build a rich and dynamic environment for mentee training. So the consortium is built up of PIs and researchers from across Canada, and we all have mentees within our group that we can incorporate into this program. And I'll talk about how we'll do that shortly. Some of the outcomes from the workshop were to formally develop the consortium itself to make it something tangible, to recruit trainees from the different members' laboratories to help support the trainee network, and also to be leaders within our labs to kind of be ambassadors for the consortium. Formation of a framework of activities and timelines. What do we want to do and what is realistic that we can do that in? Sharing of the different technical expertise, knowledge, and infrastructure capabilities that we have across our labs. And then also looking forward to funding applications. How can we really leverage the consortium to be successful in Canada in different ways? So much like Montreal that I've learned, our website is under construction. So I have not put the link up here, but I thought it is a work in progress. And so we really are, we're building up the consortium with our members. We're also starting to build our projects and the teams that we're involved in, our funding partners that we've established so far. And we already have some publications where we have the consortium as one of our affiliations as well. And so that is ways that we're getting more visibility out of what we do. For the EDI component, or the equity, diversity, and inclusion, it's really about principles and practices. And so we want to build a positive and supportive environment. Of course, this is within our own labs, but also under the umbrella of the consortium. And to consider with team composition, considerations for project design. And then for our practices, we already have many of our members are involved in diverse areas of EDI principles and practice, including mentorship. So I have some examples up here of different initiatives that we're a part of, as well as different empowerment awards, which is a recognition of those that have overcome barriers and are, representing their community or are speaking on behalf of their community, as well as those that are supporting individuals to be successful and move them forward. And nominations and invitations as well, and really supporting people to be recognized in their roles. And so for CAN aims, we focus on 3 pillars. One of them is research, training, and then infrastructure. And so for our pillar of research, we really find that we can bring together a unique combination of expertise and also be flexible. So because we're not all focused on the same goal, whether it's research-based, we are not all using the same instrumentation, so we're not competing against each other. The idea is really to leverage and build this consortium up so that we support each other on grant applications and that we can be flexible to apply for different things. As you know, within the Canadian Funding Agency, that is important, especially lately, where they're moving more towards these consortium-based funding programs. And so if we can have something in place where a call comes out and we say, we have this expert in our consortium, let's run some preliminary data for them and support them to put forward that application. We can write a letter of support from the consortium as well to show that that is present and the motivation is already there. And then we're moving into diverse opportunities as well. So we can cover a range of health and foundational questions, but also the agriculture and environmental questions as well. And then interdisciplinary collaborations. This is something that we've already started developing, having new areas of research, cross-lab validation, and protocol sharing across our groups as well. And then the next pillar being training. And one of our visions for this is through the NSERC Create program, the Collaborative Research and Training Experience program, which is really dedicated to mentees and training and providing an experience and career readiness that they would not receive in other places. And so we have our proposed program and our keywords that are a part of this program: artificial intelligence and mass spectrometry. But again, a key part that we bring into this is the bioethics. And so we bring in that social aspect and the philosophy behind it. And so students really get a well-rounded experience within the program. Our proposed training objectives are to teach theoretical concepts through like a graduate course, for example, to then provide hands-on training with state-of-the-art instrumentation and infrastructure. And this is where the consortium comes into play and is so valuable, because you already have this team of researchers in place that you can then have trainees move across the different labs and gain different expertise. To explore different bioinformatics platforms and AI algorithms, really to develop innovative platforms and computational pipelines, and to assess the bioethical considerations for the implication of those pipelines, and to share that across different groups. To facilitate interdisciplinary collaborative research opportunities through those exchanges. It can be through cross-lab exchanges and also industry partnerships as well, and going into industry groups and learning how you connect business to biotechnology. Develop communication and knowledge translational skills through meetings, conference presentations, and outreach activities. And then to provide career building, professional development training, and networking opportunities, really with this goal of career preparedness. And then our last pillar is focused on infrastructure. And here, as with the previous talks that have highlighted the CFI, or the Canadian Foundation for Innovation, this is our main funding body for infrastructure within Canada. And they have different envelopes, I suppose, to apply for. So depending whether the consortium wants to apply for instrumentation that will be located across the country, or supporting one of our individual groups to get instrumentation they don't have access to, that is something that we are doing. To build complementary infrastructure into the program as well, so that we can compare different instruments and protocols. Look at different funding and access models. For example, if you're a member of the consortium, we could have a special funding model rate across the different labs, as well as priority access to different instrumentation as well. And then one of the biggest pieces of what we can do is really to do cross-lab validations, to share protocols and expertise, to do that training, and help to generate preliminary data to support each other as we build up research programs, as we build up labs, etc. And so some of the upcoming activities and initiatives, the top one was today. So that's really great. Yes, want to highlight that. We also have an invited submission to the Expert Review in Proteomics journal with the Clinical and Translational Omics Special issue that will be coming out this fall. The Human Proteome Organization has a new initiatives call, and so we've put in an abstract for this as well to present at HUPO in Germany to talk about the consortium and highlight what Canada is doing, as well as start to build those international partnerships. And then we have a bioinformatics.ca workshop on proteomics in Quebec in September, where the consortium is supporting that workshop as well. We also now, the other thing that we want to do is with the funding that we have from CIHR, we have the opportunity to support trainees to go and present their work in an outreach and a dissemination perspective. And so we'll have a meeting of CAN-AIMS at the annual Canadian National Proteomics Network meeting in November. We also have travel awards that we're providing to trainees within each of our groups to attend the conference and present their research, as well as to be ambassadors for CAN-AIMS as they travel to these different meetings and provide them with unique training opportunities. So for example, we have CAN-AIMS trainees that are attending the bioinformatics.ca workshop that we have in September, and we're using funds from the program to do that to support their training. And then funding applications is also on the horizon. So New Frontiers Research Fund has a large transformation funding call they put out every 2 years. This is something that we're working towards. And then the NSERC Create, the training-focused application as well. And so with that, I would like to thank you for listening and to highlight CAN-AIMS. And if you're interested in more information or you want to become a member, a partner, or collaborator, please email me, and I'd be happy to talk to you about the opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. If there are any questions, please, I invite you to come here to the room. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Jennifer. It's great, great closing talk in our Canadian Bioinformatics in Canada session. One of the challenges I've experienced throughout my life in building networks is to be inclusive of everybody. And I was looking at your map of Canada. There's a lot of proteomics people I know that aren't on there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so what's the mode for, you mentioned that you're going to invite or you're going to open invitation or something like that to be part of this network. And I guess, is there a bar or is there
that's a good question.
Yeah.
There is not a bar. No,
Okay.
The point is to be inclusive, but to start somewhere. So one of the tricky things I find, so I'm president of our CNPN, the Canadian National Proteomics Network. And so it's two different hats to wear that are a little tricky to balance.
Yeah.
And it was very much of a, who do we start with? And so when we first began, it really was based on some proteomics, because that's my expertise, some metabolomics and bioinformatics.
Yeah.
And then from there, we expanded out a bit more. And then from there, it's also for the NSERC Create. So it evolves quite a bit over time. But no, everybody is welcome to participate in the consortium.
I assume so.
Yes, absolutely. And so it really is something that we're starting and building and want to expand.
So I'm going to age myself a little bit. So I used to be part of PENS.
Okay.
And
Okay.
So,
yes. Yeah.
So that was an old gang of protein engineers.
Yeah.
And so it's, and many of them aren't in this gang. So
yeah, that's right. No, and that's also the beauty of the Canadian community, right?
Yeah.
It's a small community where we have many members that know each other and that have been a part of networks and that want to be a part of networks. And that's how we have the opportunity to build them.
Great.
So
thank you very much.
Thanks, Francis.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Are there any online?
I'll ask one. So you mentioned that you plan to do like bioethics training. I'm curious, is that specifically focused for AI? Because I know that there's a lot of new concerns about AI in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say yes, it is AI focused for the bioethics. And so Gus Skorberg is a professor at the University of Guelph, and he's an expert in that area. And so definitely in the AI context, but he gives an amazing talk, and it really gets you thinking about so many different things. So for the NSERC Create program, it's very much about getting trainees just aware of the consideration for ethics. For the consortium itself, it's bringing in that piece so that we have it as a foundational component of the consortium from the beginning.
Very cool.
Thanks, Alex.